we're going to be talking about what is behind bars. Not the jail kind, but the protein snack kind. And the reason I'm talking to you about this is I'm getting a lot of questions that I used to ask. And I thought, well, I've kind of figured this out, but a lot of people who are joining the fitness game want to know more about bars. Are they good for you? Why incorporate them? And what is their use? And more importantly, which ones have quality that's actually going to move the needle and not just be a glorified candy bar? So when I started my bodybuilding journey, I had to add more protein into my diet. Like most Americans, we know, meat and fish and eggs and cheese and some of the lentils and legumes have protein in them, but it's a lot. You have to add a lot more to what you're eating because the general diet is not sufficient for growing more muscle or keeping the muscle that you have. So I'm going to break it down for you. Are you ready? So this little bunch of bars I held up here, they are of all sorts. And I put them into two categories. And I'm going to talk about marketing and how much these little labels can lie to you. Not knowingly, they're just trying to coax you in to try it. And then you like it and you'll keep eating it, but it may not be what you want. So first, the two categories I put them in. One is hot and fast. And the other one is warm and slow. Hot and fast means that they have a lot of quick energy, a lot of sugar, a little bit of protein, and they are for a certain purpose. If you're going to hike a steep mountain, or if you're going to go on a bicycle race or run a 10K, hot and fast, why not? You're going to burn it off anyway. And then there's the warm and slow. The warm and slow has way more protein and a little bit of sugar. So it's a balanced macro situation, but the protein is really going to help when it comes to adding protein daily to your diet, mostly like in the snacks. We know that our balanced meals need to have protein in them, and I've done a lot of videos, if you look in the past, about that, and we'll continue to talk about it. But what about snacks? How do you work these into snacks, and why do they help so much? So let's dive in. Protein bars, they're everywhere. They sound healthy, they look healthy, but are they actually helping you to hit your goals, or is marketing playing with you? And I'm going to start today with a classic. Cliff bars are everywhere. And I am not here to villainize any brand. They all have a place. You just have to know what your priority is at that moment and shop accordingly. So you look at the Cliff Bar and it says on here, sustained energy. Sustained to me means it's going to last you 4 hours. This one's chocolate chip. Nobody doesn't like chocolate chips. And if you look really closely, there's a rock climber. That looks pretty gnarly. You have to be really strong to do this. So the connection we make in our head is this is a bar that helps you climb rocks. It's that powerful and it gives you sustained energy. What could be wrong with that? So this bar is practically begging you to put it in your day pack. So let's check out the macros. When you are trying to pick a bar, and I'm going to talk about 5 examples today. So there's way more than that out there. But part of this is to show you how to look at this label and to be smart and educated without being a certified nutritionist. So what you want to look for, mainly, it's not the calories. Forget it. Calories are going to be in the 200 to 350 kind of range, which is great for a healthy snack if you're active, and it will fit into your daily calorie counts. This one has around 40 grams of carbs. Now, I did a previous video about how carbs are not the devil, because carbs are broken up into 2 categories, quick sugar and slow sugar, right? Some of the plant-based things are a little more slow metabolizing. But there's another way to divide this up. And that is when you look at the carbohydrate category, you will notice all of these bars break it up into a couple of categories. The first one will be fiber, and the second one will be sugars or added sugar. It'll be something sugar. So the reason this is so important, is that fiber is a part of the carbohydrate category, but it does not stimulate production of insulin at all, or a very small amount. It's a very small amount. It doesn't spike your insulin, I guess, is a better way of saying it. Whereas the sugar will. And the sugar will give you that quick energy that is absolutely true on here. So you're going to look at the carb, and you're going to look at the fiber, and you're going to look at the sugar. And then I want you to look at the protein grams, and that will give you a really good idea. I don't focus so much on fat. They wobble up and down a little bit, but it's not as significant of a driver in the decision making, in my opinion, for picking a bar. So this is plus or minus 40 grams of carbohydrate. I say plus or minus because different flavors have a different spread. Some flavors more, some flavors less. And plus or minus 20 grams of sugar. Now, that's pretty hefty. It's not ridiculous. It's not as much as a Coca-Cola, but it's pretty up there. And only 10 grams of protein, which they've improved that over the years. So that's a pretty good mix. Now, this bar, because it's so high in sugar, I would say that the advertising is pretty accurate. That a mountain climber or a rock climber, yeah, you would want to take this bar among maybe some more sugar. You would probably want to have some of that goo or maybe honey sticks or other things that keep you going. But this is a good addition to a strenuous hike or strenuous physical activity. So this is a fast and hot carb in my categorization. High in sugar, relatively speaking, high in carbs. This bar is built for endurance, not sitting at your desk or for a Netflix marathon. Perfect for a steep hike or a long run. But if you're just looking for protein, there are better sources. So bar number 2 in the lineup is called brand Barbell. Sounds like barbell, right? It's good marketing. It gives you barbell vibes. I think they're pretty smart for using that name. I put this in the warm and slow fuel category. So let's compare this in looking at the nutrition label back here. Name, it screams gym friendly, right? But do they back it up? So if I look at the nutrition label, the carbs are around 20 grams, but the fiber is a large portion of it. So it ends up only being 1 to 2 grams of sugar, depending on the flavor again. And the protein is 20 grams. So it's well balanced between sugar and protein. And it's more protein than the Cliff Bar. Low in sugar, high in protein means steady energy. And if you're looking for a bar that actually supports muscle recovery and sustained hunger abatement without a sugar crash, this one is a win. Now, here's a little side trip on the bar discussion. Number 3, the contender is Barbell's Vegan. So it's the same brand as the other one. And if you have the regular one, you think, oh, you know what? Vegan's probably healthier. Maybe that's a healthier option for me because I'm really trying to eat a little more whole foods or whatever your motivation is behind that. Maybe you are a vegan, and so you're for an option in that case. Yes. But I'm going to compare it to the previous one just to show you what marketing can do. There's no animal products. It must be healthy, but let's take a look at the label. So let's flip this puppy over and look at the nutrition label. It's plus or minus 30 grams of carbs, depending on the flavor. There's a little more fiber in this, probably because it's plant-based. So that's not a bad thing. But look at just the sugar part under carbohydrates. Remember, carbohydrates, fiber, sugar. The sugar is between 12 and 15 grams, depending on the flavor. That's pretty hefty stuff right there. If the protein is really high, that's still okay. But guess what? The protein goes down to 15 grams. So it's 5 grams less protein and a significant amount of more of carbohydrate sugars. So this is the surprise that one's actually higher in sugar and lower in protein than the other. So if you're grabbing this thinking that they're the same, just vegan friendly, you're not getting the same deal. So make your choices carefully. If you're vegan, not a bad choice, but if you're really going for the lower in sugar, higher in protein, this one is better. Number 4, our candidate is Cliff Bar. So it's a relative of the Cliff Bar. And this one is called the Z Bar. And it's branded as Cliff Kid. So it's kid friendly. You're a good mom or a grandma or a caretaker, and you're getting your charge a very healthy little snack. It's better than a candy bar, right? So let's break this down. This markets itself as, it says right on here, good source of fiber. I'm doing a good job giving my child fiber. But let's check out the numbers. It has plus or minus 2 grams of fiber, 9 to 12 grams of sugar, and only 2 to 3 grams of protein. Now, we're talking about a child here. Children are growing like weeds, and they need the building blocks to grow those bones and muscles. Protein is key. So a snack with only 2 to 3 grams of protein, But then, when they add the 9 to 12 grams of sugar, and then fail at their promise here of a good source of fiber, that's marketing spin at its finest. You were better off giving your child the regular Cliff Bar. And you know what? You'd be better off with an apple. An apple has double the fiber and actual nutrients. So an apple instead of this. That's my recommendation. And finally, for my 5th candidate to discuss, Go Macro Bar. I think I chose this to talk about because I did have one on a recent car trip. And I do have to say, it's really good. It is organic, vegan, Team Decadent. I think the marketing sucked me in. I really just wanted something to assuage my appetite until we could have dinner on a long car trip. And I thought, well, this is fine. And I didn't a good consumer. I wasn't thinking like a good consumer and looking at the nutrition label. So I'm right there with you guys. I'm not perfect. Anyway, let's talk about this. It's an interesting choice. Let's see how decadent it really is. Of course it's decadent. It has 35 grams of carb. And the fiber, 3. So guess what the rest of it is? Sugar. So hot and fast. If you're going to run a 10K, go for it. It probably wasn't the best choice for a car trip since I was sitting for 4 hours. So protein is on the front label, but not much to speak of on the back. It only has plus or minus 10 grams of protein depending on the flavor. And with 10 grams of protein and 15 grams of sugar, it leans more decadent than protein packed. And it's a sweet snack, little protein thrown in, more than a serious choice. So what's the key takeaway here, people? Protein bar brands are as different as we are. Some are great for endurance, some are great for muscle recovery, and some are just expensive cookies or candy bars in disguise. Bottom line, check the label. Don't trust the marketing. Be a good consumer and make sure your fuel matches your goals. I'm right in there with you. I make bad decisions sometimes knowingly and sometimes unknowingly. But the more aware you are to look at that back label, the better off you're going to be. So subscribe for more